What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So we're back again with another group of fan champion concepts. We know you guys love seeing these kind of things, so I'm always keeping my eyes out for any really awesome and super interesting ideas. It doesn't take much introduction at this point, so I just want to dive straight into it. But first, we've got a little bit of a sponsor for you guys today. So this video is going to be sponsored by LOL Sumo, which is a free app for both iOS and Android. So their goal is to help you improve in League of Legends by analyzing your games live and also giving you some detailed stats of your own individual play. I've personally been using it for a pretty long time now, and it's proven to be useful for me, so I'm pretty happy to keep promoting them. They can help you pick out runes for any champion while also giving you some dynamic tips and item build recommendations live for your in-game matchups versus your real-time opponents. It's a pretty useful tool that is really tailored to your individual play, so I personally prefer it more than other stats sites online that provide maybe more generic advice. They do have a pro version if you want to take it a little bit of a step further, but it's actually completely free to use on both iOS and Android, so you don't have to take it from me. You can just check it out at the link in the description and decide for yourself if you like it or not. Definitely check them out. Again, that's going to be at the link in the description below. With that said, let's jump into these concepts, and as always, we'll have links in the description as well to the original artists, so check them out and show them some love. And if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely leave a like on it or let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for some more videos. The first champion we wanted to show off today is actually another dual type champion, kind of like Thane and Rast. The concept is for Taim and Marid, and it was actually created by a professional character designer that works for Ubisoft. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation. Oussama Agazzoum. As a concept, it ties pretty heavily into Arab lore, featuring an orphan slave child stumbling upon an ancient artifact while being forced to dig for old Shuriman treasures. What he found was a key jar that contained a sentient being from the void called Marid, so it's based on a sort of genie in a lamp type of situation. In game, Taim takes on the appearance of a young boy living in the deserts of Runeterra, holding Marid's cursed axe and carrying the key jar on his back with Marid's eye burning above it. When Marid takes control, the eye shifts to the center of the axe, and Taim takes on a much more sinister appearance. The main gameplay concept behind the champion is a struggle for control, with Taim fighting for his freedom and Marid fighting for control of his new vessel by pouring his power into him through his veins. It'd be a pretty interesting strategic niche in the game because Taim's gameplay would have sort of a slow, powerful melee focus, but then he'd switch into more of a caster form when Marid takes control. As a melee champion, Taim's attacks mostly focus on using his axe weapon to crush enemies, but he also has what seems to be a Nautilus-style drag ability, as well as a slowing zone. After being possessed by Marid, Taim gains the ability to burst people down from a distance and even hypnotize enemies, kind of like Ahri's charm, I guess, though these abilities are ideas rather than being set in stone, and there's a lot of other cool stuff that Riot could do with a champion like this. To be honest, we haven't even touched on the amount of detail that Oussama goes into work with this concept. It's full of just iterative artwork, gameplay concepts, and actually even a short story written by Nabil Lukman to bring Taim into the world of Runeterra. So definitely check out this incredible piece at the ArtStation link in the description below. Check it all out. I mean, I honestly only just barely scratched the surface of this one. He goes so far in depth, it's just awesome. Next up, we've got Thane, a champion concept by Wang2Dog. And once again, it's really breaking into some interesting new territory that Riot hasn't really done anything with so far. The idea was inspired by a mix of Aztec, African, and Chinese culture, and it features a kind of demigod-like character that wields two powerful clubs or hammers that uses his control over lightning to crush his enemies. Wang2Dog described Thane as a tank warrior mage combination, and although that already sounds a little crazy, it does make us wonder if Riot would ever consider making more sort of jack of all trades champions that aren't exactly particularly great at one role but can kind of flex between all of them. You could say just that Thane is made to be more of an AP bruiser type character, and that fits his appearance pretty well thanks to his obvious physical strength, but also all that energy pouring out of his golden headdress. One of the only issues I can maybe see with this concept is that I suppose he does have a little bit of a similar silhouette to Rise, so some people might mistake him in game for a Rise skin or something, but as long as he always holds those two hammers, it's gonna work out just great. Unfortunately, there are no planned abilities for Thane because he was created for a student portfolio with the FZD School of Design, but Riot could definitely make some amazing stuff happen with a character like this. The use of lightning is something that's been covered pretty heavily so far in League, but it would be really great if Riot took some inspiration from this skin and went down more of a shamanistic road, since that would open up a ton of really cool options for referencing more of Aztec or Mayan culture. If you guys remember from way back in the day, we've talked about the possibility of a totem champion that allowed you to place down a totem and fire your abilities from that totem that you kind of place on the ground. And this is really the kind of thing that I would love to see from this sort of character concept for sure. Now our third fan champion for the day is by someone who we've talked about in previous videos. It's by Daemonstar, and this time it's a marksman concept called Jamiel, and this time it's a marksman concept called Jamiel, the masked archer. He's pretty striking to look at, but there's really no clues to his identity, so it'd be pretty interesting to see how Riot would be able to characterize a concept like this. His gameplay has already been quite fleshed out by Daemonstar, starting with a pretty interesting passive that makes him resistant to silence and blindness effects. Having built-in protection to crowd control effects is pretty intense, particularly for an AD carry, but at least they are some of the less common effects, so it's not like he can't be stunned or slowed or anything like that. On top of that, marksman champions are really squishy, so he'd still be super vulnerable, of course, to burst damage, and he's also immobile. Jamiel's Q is a pretty simple targeted nuke that can be used 3 times in quick succession, or some arrows can be left unfired to shorten the cooldown. His W is actually a melee attack that stabs the opponent with a dagger that silences them for 1.5 seconds. Kind of an interesting choice for an AD carry with no mobility or ways to avoid damage. Jamiel's E is a trap arrow that roots the target champion, so we'd guess it works kind of like a net, I suppose. The arrow actually overpenetrates as well, and if it hits a wall, it leaves a string behind that slows enemy that walk through it, making a reasonably good crowd control ability for teamfights and zoning. His ultimate actually causes Jamiel to lose his iconic mask, attaching it to an enemy for some AP damage, then pulsing to deal AoE AD damage around the masked target for a certain period of time. It seems like Daemonstar's idea here was to create a sort of divide and conquer style AD carry that wants to force enemies to split up using his trap arrow, using his ultimate, but it seems like you'd need to be really careful at protecting Jamiel in teamfights as well, because he doesn't necessarily have ways of dealing with threats all by himself. Now the last champion for today is a concept that goes by the name of Sigil, the Marsh Warden, and it's actually by an entire team of artists that we're gonna have to link in the description, because they actually created a full entire website featuring the champion concept, his background, his gameplay, and even something I've never seen before for a fan champion concept, an intro trailer. It's honestly just so damn cool to see professional artists, professional developers creating their own League of Legends champion concepts, and once again the quality of the concept really reflects that level of intense professionalism. Sigil's appearance is that of a frog standing on 2 legs, wielding a staff and accompanied by a little companion called Saren. As a character, he is defined by his high mobility, staff, and mystical powers that he uses to be an effective ganker and counter jungler. His passive is Saren's Collection, giving him true damage on his 5th basic attack against jungle monsters. This causes them to release a firefly that Saren will then collect, empowering Sigil with bonus magic damage on his auto attacks. The passive also disables Sigil's ability to use basic attacks if he isn't holding his staff, and this is important because Sigil's W allows him to throw his staff, which slows the first enemy it hits and grants some vision. Sigil can then reactivate the W to return the staff to himself and deal damage to the first enemy it hits. or he can use his E to jump to his staff and deal AoE damage. If he hits an enemy, he gains the movement speed buff, making his W into the E combo the main way of initiating a fight. Sigil's Q is actually Inner Fury / Pulse, and it allows him to slash 2 times with his staff while walking. It also interacts with his W because returning the staff to his hand will silence Sigil's target and deal extra damage. If you aren't holding the staff when you activate the Q, you'll instead use Pulse, which, as the name suggests, is an AoE ability that deals 2 pulses of magic damage around the staff. Sigil's ultimate is Saren's Collect, causing Sigil to draw energy from his staff before using it as a hoverboard, granting him movement speed buff and draining fireflies per second. Put together, this kit essentially creates a highly mobile jungler, but it does lack a lot of defensive abilities, so he'd be pretty squishy if he didn't snowball the game. One of the coolest things about Sigil is that the team actually created an entire backstory that ties in really closely with another champion, Zac. But you guys are going to have to read the story for yourselves on sigil.lol if that interests you. Between his appearance, gameplay, and the lore, this is definitely the most fleshed out, the most polished, the most incredible champion concept I personally have ever seen. So I really hope Riot gives it a serious look and potentially considers developing him further, or maybe hiring some of the developers that worked on the project. That's just about going to be all we've got for today's video, but definitely check out all the links in the description below for those concepts, for extra details that we didn't necessarily have time to include in this video. So make sure you take a look at some of our other fan champion concept videos too, if you're maybe interested in that. Showcasing the work done by this amazing League of Legends community is so much fun, and I'm so passionate, and I love bringing these concepts for you guys. So maybe one day with your support, we'll manage to get Riot to put one of these fan champions into the game. Either way, looks like that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.